Andrew Tate. Let's get this podcast cancelled. Like, he ended up just being like, I can't fucking take this, and he asked for another seat and he left. Working with Harry Kane was one of the biggest moments. His like energy was insane, you know? I'm like, you're like the pinnacle of British sport and you're right here and you're a tall specimen of an athlete. I was in a really bad accident. I was in a coma for 3 days. And I woke up from that coma. That was the catalyst for me to go, life is too short.
Yeah.
You have to just do it. You can actually go to Roberto Escobar's house and you actually get to meet Roberto Escobar. Drove to this compound. The sons of him came over. And then again, the brothers come over and they're like, no. We told you already. That is fucking bonkers.
Yeah. How's it going, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Here's the Crack podcast. This is the first guest episode of 2023.
Yo.
And we've got the one and only Paul Kennedy on. Now, you are the owner, the founder of Lifelike Media. And a little bit of context anyway, like you've worked with some of the biggest brands, like obviously Pride and Pinion's one that you've worked with. You've done a lot of promotion and stuff like that there.
Shout out Nico, the man
Yes.
bastard.
I think one actually that Tommy said the other day, which I was like quite surprised at, was Stat Sports. That's a big one.
Yeah, they're legends.
Yeah. And it's just obviously getting into all that. You've obviously done a lot of other stuff as well, like promotion, like the Global Titan boxing event and stuff where Floyd Mayweather, if you obviously don't know him, fought Deji, one of the YouTubers, which was sick. But I think you could get into like all this. I feel like we could just start dissecting all this right now, but I think we'll hold it. We'll go straight back to the start. So
The
like
very
before.
start, like,
yeah.
okay, let's rip the start. I don't want to say I was like your entrepreneurial school kid, but because of people, I feel like, you know, business owners kind of always say that, but I did do that.
You sell chocolate bars in school?
Yeah, but you know what my thing was? I knew my mates had energy drinks locked down and that, so I knew I needed something else. So I did Mawams, you know, like and the Wham bars, you know, as we choose. But you're talking about like 10p margin. So what really got me started in entrepreneurship at school was, you remember the iPod touches came out?
Yeah.
Well, I always had like music in my life. I was a drummer. And I had the iTunes filled with all the Pirate Bay rip tracks.
Nice.
So I used to fill up your 8 gig iPod Touch for a $5. And if it was a 16 gig, it was a $10.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, good margins on that compared to Sweets. And then actually it grew to the point where the teachers were getting involved.
Yeah.
So the teachers were giving me their iPods.
Nice.
And I was putting ABBA and all that there. So that's when and then like to go even further, one of the teachers ended up having me and my mate quote for a deck. Like we were going to redo his deck. And his garden, because I kind of pretended we were going to start a gardening business, but that's another story. But you know, it was always there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It was always there. All those little school entry things, and then I knew that I wasn't going to go to university because it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in school to play rugby, so I did that.
What school did you go to?
Grosvenor Grammar.
Grosvenor.
East Belfast.
Played them in rugby a few times.
What school were you?
Academy. Academy.
Yeah. I mean, we were all right. We had some good moments in our career.
I was in the B team though in rugby. Like I wasn't like rugby wasn't the be all and end all.
No, I wanted to do rugby for real, but I just hurt my leg. Like,
so
you know
funny.
what I mean? Like, would have went pro.
Done my knee.
Broke my toe.
It's so funny though, because I remember the part of the reason why I kind of gave up rugby was because I was quite like small and skinny, so I played like some of like the winger positions and stuff because it was quite fast, and then like came back like a year and a half later and put on like a fair bit of weight, and they're like, yeah, you're going hooker, and I was like, oh right, okay. It's just hookers are quite like big.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, okay, yeah. Let's give this up.
Is that like a rugby insult?
No, it's not. But like it's
You took the hurt.
Yeah, I took the hurt. But,
The hooker jokes.
Yeah.
But no, rugby is what I did want to do it, definitely. Just don't think I had the skill, like. And then that's why I was in school. But I remember teachers and all being like, why aren't you going to university? Because I'm playing rugby. And I had that bit of beef with that. You know, my friends were all going to uni, but I just never wanted to. So what I did was I went traveling.
Yeah.
So the first thing, as soon as I got out of school, I moved to Canada, became a ski instructor, and actually taught skiing to 6 and 7 year olds. I got a class of 10 to 12 year olds.
Did you know how to ski?
Oh, yeah, skiing's.
See, I thought this was like the gardening thing where it was like, you know, I just showed up one day. I'll teach these young ones how to ski. Don't worry about it.
Grab the
I know how to do it.
Ski. I wanted to ski, so I was like, how can I ski even though I have no money because I just left school? So, okay, well, I get paid to ski.
Yeah.
But, you know, that kind of thing, you don't get good money, you get beer tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were in Canada in Banff, and that was serious crack.
Yeah.
really good, and that gave me the bug. I was living with Australians, and they're all mad as fuck.
Yeah.
So ended up doing, straight after that went to Magaluf. We'll really quickly skip over that, but did the season.
What are the seasons like? Because you hear people mention them and they're just like drinking every day,
Yeah, like it was like that. Looking back, like back then it was fun, but looking back, you get the ick, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
We did 30 days of drinking in a row, and then you get really ill, and that's actually ended why I came home. The Magaluf thing was great, good experience, met loads of great people, and then continued the whole traveling. Did 40 countries, but I'm not 30, so I was trying to do 40 countries before I'm 30. So traveled a bunch of them, lived in a few of them, and got loads of life experience before I came back to settle, as it is. Not quite settled yet, but you know what I mean? Like, before you try to do something for real.
Yeah. Was that like the plan in terms of, did you go with that intention of traveling to learn more before coming back, or was it just kind of, you were young, you wanted to experience things, you started traveling, then almost like caught a bug and then found yourself almost like country hopping from place to place? Yeah,
you definitely catch the bug, but I loved like watching ski videos and like extreme sports and that sort of stuff. And didn't really have it here, so I was like, I can't ski here. I can't I love diving, scuba diving.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't dive. Well, you can dive here, but it looks awful.
Yeah.
So I went and did my rescue scuba diving. So I became a ski instructor, then did rescue scuba diving. And then my plan initially was every winter I will ski and every summer I will dive.
Yeah.
Eventually become an instructor and just live that little life for a bit. But yeah, like you just said, you get the bug and you want to just keep moving around.
Yeah.
But you're able to take those skills with you,
Yeah.
Was it hard, like, bouncing about and making money? Like, that's one of the things you see people are, like, they go travelling for a long period of time. It's like, how do you sort of finance that?
Well, I didn't have money. Like, that was so I went to Australia with £1,000 and I didn't know that wasn't a lot of money. So I didn't last very long. It lasted like 12 days before I had to get a little bailout from my dad. So he gave me like 500 quid to keep going. And then eventually had to get a job with, and this is really and this is why I always urge people to go traveling, because this like shaped me. I went and did door-to-door commission-only sales in Australia. So if I wasn't making sales, I wasn't eating.
Yeah.
And we ended up
What were you selling?
Solar, milk and bread, and charity lottery tickets. So three different things. No. That's 3 different companies, but 3 different completely different projects.
You were working for like a solar company, and they were like, "Go sell them solar. If they say no, fall back on the milk and the bread."
Whatever I could sling, like.
The commission on bread and milk wouldn't be too high, I wouldn't imagine.
And then
how do you have to go door to door, mate, to sell milk?
No, so it's called Aussie Farmers. So it's milk, bread, veggies, all that delivered to your door, and that's just going around. But I was good at it. I liked sales, and I was like, I decided I would study the sales so I could actually survive in Australia. But there's been moments where me, Reese, and Max, who went together, we ended up living in our car for 3 days. It's a Holden Commodore, 3 people in one car before we could get like a commission check to go and get our hostel. So you're right there, like on the breadline.
Yeah.
And that forces you to be good, because if you don't be good, you have to go home.
Yeah.
If you're not great at sales, you don't eat.
Yeah.
Bailout time, and I already have my bailout straight away. So
yeah, it's tough. Like I worked in sales for ages, and it was like kind of that thing where the targets and stuff, and obviously like the more you bounce about jobs, the more you do realize that obviously most jobs have KPIs, they have targets and stuff, but sales were like going in every day and looking at a board that was like, oh, you have sold 27 out of 50, and it's maybe like 1 week towards the end of the month, and you're like, oh dear.
Yeah.
But then I was uni at the time, so it didn't really matter, but there was that pressure.
I feel like I think like Bill Gates or someone said, like, hire someone lazy because they'll find like the quickest shortcut to do it.
Yeah.
But we ended up finding these wee shortcuts. So that Aussie Farmers job, like, we had to we tried to do the trial order to get them signed up. But we ended up just signing them up for the trial order, getting all their details, card details and everything, but then cancelling their order so they wouldn't actually have to pay for it, but it went down as a sale in our system.
Yeah.
And we were just like, and then in the Monday, meeting, they're like, you're on like 12, you're on 10, like whatever, you felt good. And eventually it all came crashing down. The scam was exposed, and we all lost our job.
Yeah,
and then cue the next sales.
Yeah.
That's why we did so many different sales projects.
3 years in prison for fraud and all
Notorious in Australia.
what are you in for, mate?
So-
Miss selling milk.
That's why you travel, to learn those mistakes early when you're 19, and then you don't bring that back.
And would you say, like, for someone, say, who's listening or whatever, and maybe coming out of school and hasn't really got much of an idea, because I think you see a lot of that now as people leave, like, secondary school, and they're like when you ask them, what are you going to do? I don't know, so I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do this course. Like, would you say the best thing to do is just
100%,
go traveling? Like,
100%. Like, that is what I say. And I'm lucky enough that I get the opportunity to mentor a few, younger guys coming through.
Yeah.
And that's what I say. Like, if you don't know what you want to do, don't just gamble and go and do university course for 3 years and waste 3 years of your life and spend all this money and come out in debt. Use the same time and the same sort of debt, but obviously like not as much, to go traveling. Take a loan off the parents. If you can't do that, work, get a sales job, travel, because you'll learn more about yourself. You'll get uncomfortable and you'll network. Like, I have friends all over the world now. I'm really, really lucky for that. And I can just go anywhere and, be a guest in someone's city. So I really urge people to do that straight away. If you're 16, 20, even if you're like mid-20s, like, just do it. Yeah. Because it's a really great experience. And then you look back in life and you look back at all those experiences that you have and the stories you can tell. Yeah.
It's funny because I know a guy who's literally turned out, he worked with me and now he's going traveling and he's like 26.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish I'd done it. Now you're messaging him now and you're like, how's it going? He said, I just wish I'd have done it earlier.
Exactly.
Because like you're looking back at things now and you're like, now's the time. Like it's
because you do like wild shit when you're young,
Yeah.
And then like shit you wouldn't do now.
Yeah.
But then me and my girlfriend were going to go traveling this summer and do a little bit of Eastern Europe backpacking, like.
Yeah.
Because I still miss that. And you can do like 4 or 5 countries in one go. So we're planning a trip right now on what we're going to do this summer.
Nice.
So it's not like you don't stop with the age, but you just get a little bit more sensible on it.
Yeah.
Where are you at with the countries? How many have you got to?
40.
You're at exactly 40 now?
Yeah, so St. Lucia there. I did a lot there Q4. So that was my plan. Like I say this, like we optimized for fun the last 3 years, even with the business. We optimize for fun. Yeah. How much fun can we have? Like, what can we do? What experiences can we have with using this company as leverage? And now we're going to optimize for growth. Now I've kind of got a lot of that done.
Yeah.
It's time to travel then.
Yeah. And like, when was it roughly that you sort of, obviously you've done your traveling and you've done your sales and you've kind of had that experience. When was it that the kind of entrepreneurial side of things, obviously taking away the Mawam side of things, sort of like took place?
The iPod tunes. Well, good question. So I had an events company first. So before I went traveling, I funded it by working at Box for Coos Day. Did you remember that?
No. What?
Box?
Or sorry, yeah, it was Coos Day.
Was it like the nightclub Box?
Box
yeah. Box nightclub.
Like the 90B drinks night?
Yeah. Well, that was Cracks 90, which I was there as well. So I was the wee granda dressed up. There was like people dressed up around town.
I remember. I think I only went like 1 or 2 times. Like it wasn't that much, but it closed shortly after we.
Was Box the one in Odyssey?
Yeah, it closed around the time we started uni. But
the greatest club of all time. Like, I'm so sorry you didn't get to experience it fully. I worked there, and then to load up on cash before I left. And then whenever I came back, all the people, like all my mates that I worked with, they now become like managers in that role and, had more authority in the club. So having this idea, my brother was still in school. I was like, well, let's get all the school parties. We'll plan their party, we'll do an event and we'll charge them like 20 quid a ticket and we'll put it all together. We'll get their transport, blah, blah, blah. So we did all the pre-formals. We did the formals, we did the after parties, and we did the uni fundraisers. So like QUB Snow and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then from doing QUB Snow, we ended up they flew us out to Val Thorens and we shot their after movie, the video. So that was like a more of a step towards making videos because we were kind of doing videos for the events. And then we were doing videos for their QUB Snow. And then I realized like this events company, it was called Elephant Events, by the way. It was a good year, but then I realized I don't like drunk 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
I was putting like earplugs in my ear to stand at the door, like giving response. Like, this is not what I really want to do. Like, and even the uni ones, I was like, not what I'm loving. So that was like what started me in business. So yeah, and I guess that's...
Yeah, you kind of learned quickly sort of like what you like. Was there aspects at the assume though there was aspects of that role that you were actually enjoyed, like if you were getting up to do a certain aspect of a role on a Monday, you would have got out of bed easily or on a Monday, whereas the likes of,
I'll be honest, like I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy nightlife as like a business.
yeah,
It was loud, and I sound like an old man here. Like
Yeah.
it was just not, and it wasn't like I was drinking.
Yeah.
I was like working, so I didn't love that. But what I did like was making the movies, the videos, the after movies, and putting that on social, making Snapchat videos, and making these Snapchat filters that used to come out, making all them. So I loved the creative side of it, but I hated the nightlife. So I was like, how can I channel the creativity but not do nightlife? And it just grew serendipitously. Like the bars would approach us. How did you feel a Tuesday? How did you feel a Wednesday? Normally we can't get anyone in here.
Yeah.
Oh, we just made a really cool video, like, and
Aye.
put it on social media, and everyone liked it, and then they all went to the next one. And like, oh yeah, we know about that social media. Yeah, we need to be putting more energy there. Can you come and do a video for us? So I started doing videos, slinging like 300 quid videos. And what happened was they were taking the video but not really posting it properly. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
They post it once and just leave it.
Yeah.
Whereas I was saying you need to be back then like boosting posts.
Yeah.
Didn't really know what I was talking about, but I was kind of just, I know that you need to do something more than just post it once. And that's where we started to explore paid advertising.
And what year was this all in? That sort of
2016.
16. You're pretty early on it, like even back then.
Yes, I came home from traveling the first big round I did like up until 2015, and then got into business shortly after that. I worked for a social media company called Yik Yak. And that again, like getting exposure to those guys, they're an American company, so always a little bit ahead of us.
Yeah.
I was able to pick up from them and kind of just like copy their models of just putting out content in university. So I was early, but I was lucky. I was really lucky to get around those guys.
Yeah.
Which is, that's why you should be traveling, because you get around people who know shit.
In terms of like the content side of things, like did you have much experience in like videography or anything, or did you just sort of like take a chance and just start like shooting stuff on your phone, or what way did they go there? Like?
It's funny, again, like really early, my dad had a video camera, and there's clips of me that we've saved to this day, like of me filming me and my mates skateboarding at like 10 years old. I was just curious. And then whenever I was traveling, I was having GoPros because I always wanted to just document stuff. So I kind of just always did it, but I didn't really have a really good skill at it. I just liked watching those extreme sports videos and like those edits and like those Jay Alvarez videos and all that. And then just give it a crack when I was traveling, just put together a couple of edits, and then it's like everything, like I just won it. I didn't really, I didn't have those skills perfectly. I kind of crafted them over time.
I think it's interesting though, because like I think like people might sit there and want to do like the likes of filming or like creating content, and they might feel like, oh, I need like a qualification to make money from this or whatever. But like you can actually like hone your skill yourself, like especially now with like YouTube and stuff and all the sort of stuff you have online.
YouTube University, lads.
Yeah.
So.
You seem like someone who, taking all of that into consideration, even like aspects of the not entrepreneurial side of things like traveling and stuff, you kind of seem like someone who just does it. Like there's no real sort of, like a lot of people now, I think it's a lot of things that people are trying to focus on now online, and part of the whole selling thing is like, don't be scared to just do what you want to do. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of people they're scared to like put themselves out there. They're scared to try new things. Like you don't come across as someone who, was that always something you've had, like even from a younger age, where you were like, let's just go?
And to be honest, I was a little bit anxious about coming on here. Like I said to you guys off camera, like I have imposter syndrome. Like I don't think I should be getting interviewed on a podcast because I haven't made it yet. Like I haven't achieved the goal that I'm aiming for. Yeah. Or kind of just on the path.
Oh, we'll get you back on whenever you do that too, though.
Yeah.
So
remember it.
We got 3 years. But you jump into it. I'm more entrepreneurial, but I am creative. But I knew that to do this job, I needed better creatives, so I hired them. So I hired like Jack, Matt, Amanda, the guys that work with us, because they're better creatives than me. But I knew, I'll touch on this quickly, like what you said about you just got to do it. Like I was in a really bad accident. I don't really bring it up much, but I feel like that was the catalyst for me to go, life is too short.
Yeah.
You have to just do it. And whenever I was in a coma for 3 days, when I woke up from that coma, I was like, right, I'm going for it here.
Yeah.
I could die. Anyone can. And I know it's a wee bit morbid, like, to even just bring it up, but I don't want to go down that direction.
Yeah.
But, like, it's so true, lads. Like, you could literally,
Yeah.
anything could happen. I don't want to say bad things, but anything can happen. It's not gonna. We're all gonna be all right. But live life as if it could.
I think it's not to go down that rabbit hole, but I think it's really easy, and a lot of people have even said to me and stuff as I've been growing up, it's like, oh, you don't want to, especially older people when they're sort of getting to that stage where it's like in that range. I feel like when you get to a certain age, you kind of think about sort of the idea of death more, and then people go, oh, you don't want to get to my age and look back and think, I should have done that. So like you've had that kind of wake up call early, so that you could see it as a very, very bad thing, which obviously by the sounds of it was, but obviously it's shaped what you're doing now.
It did. And then I had, like, I was in a wheelchair because like my legs were all broke, but I was just sitting there like doing wheelies, and I stuck a GoPro to my wheelchair, and I used to fly around, do little assault courses, and then I would get my brother in the wheelchair and he would try and beat the time. So like, it's completely random, but it's like we were still being creative in the wheelchair, right? So it's like, okay, I'm tied down here, but let's make a video out of it and put it on the internet. And we did, and it went viral. And like, we used to just do that shit all the time. So I think that was always in me, but then it just accelerated after that.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds, well, we've had a girl in Bernadette Higgins, and she's like, I always see the stuff she's doing at the minute, and it's like a massive inspiration for a lot of people 100%. Because obviously like what happened to her was quite a dramatic thing, but even getting her on the podcast and the way she talked about it so openly, and like even little things like you're almost like scared to say stuff, but like because you're looking at her situation and you think about it in like such a negative way, but she flips it on its head and it's so positive.
She's a legend. Like, I love looking at like at her stuff because it is inspiring. I think like if you can take something from any of this or any of her story, like, I would just say like go for it.
Yeah. And speaking of going for it, then Lifelike Media, let's get into that.
Yeah. So media marketing agency, used to do the whole e-com growth thing, like ads, email, all of it, as much as we could do, creative. Then sort of last year, I mean, I've pivoted this business like 3 times, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not, like, it looks good now, maybe from the outside looking in, but I know that it's not that good. Like, I know that there's so many places in this business that are broken that we're trying to fix and stick plasters on it. And, you know, you try and do one direction and then it breaks and, you know, you feel here, you feel there. But again, going back, just keep going. Like, we're now at this point where we've decided to strip back the business and we just do creative now. Mm-hmm. So it's ad creatives, videos, vlogs. Like, maybe you've seen some of the ones we did with the Global Titans guys, the athletes, or Nico, or, you know, some of the stat sports guys like Harry Kane and that. That's all come from us deciding to just go niche specific on content, on creative, and try and become an expert at it. And there's still a long way to go, but I feel like we're going in the right direction because we've eliminated all those other distractions and those little silver shiny objects, you know.
Like, what were the moments like when like you just were trying something and it wasn't working? Like, was it hard to sort of like pick yourself back up and be like, right, we need to go somewhere else here with this? Like, you know. Yeah,
it was hard because I felt like I wasn't a good businessman because I knew the mistakes I was making, but I sometimes didn't know how to fix them. And then the other thing that's hard, and I don't know enough people talking about it, or like, you know, I had to pay my staff's wages no matter what every month. Yeah. But like, if we have a down month, they're still getting paid first because I have to support their mortgages and their dogs and their partners and their shit that's coming up. We got cost of living crisis. They still have to get paid first. So that's always on my mind, and it is difficult. Like, I don't know who's having this conversation, but I love to like dive into it with other people because sometimes I struggle with that. Yeah. You know, lying in bed being like, fuck, I have to make like at least 2 sales tomorrow because we're off track. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, like, whenever you are working a 9 to 5 and you just take it for granted, I'm getting paid tomorrow, like, it's not a big deal, but like coming from your aspect of it,
I guess that is the trade-off, you know, like the 9 to 5, like, I don't have a problem with that at all. It's, you have made the decision that you're going to get the security, which some people need. Yeah. But then with the difficulties in being an entrepreneur and, you know, having to make it work for yourself, it might be more difficult, but I do feel like we get these moments which really reward us, like the experiences, like going to Dubai with Floyd Mayweather, Tommy Fury. Like, I'll always be able to tell a story because we took those risks, but it's not like it's. I definitely don't want it to make people think that it's like, oh, it's all great. Everything's so amazing. Life's so awesome. Life is awesome, but it is hard.
I think that's something like people don't realize. Like with running a business, like my dad runs his own business. Like, and I think people don't realize how difficult it is. And like you're saying there, like you're employing people, you're under pressure to pay people's wages, and it's like on the outside it might look like the business is doing well, and people are like, oh, like he's loaded, like he's doing class, but like they don't actually know what's happening. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was stressful, like.
But in the same token, like if you're potentially wanting to work with us, everything's fine.
Yeah,
we're a perfectly good business. And if you come to us, we'll make a bloody.
I think though, even not to to elaborate on that point, I think we've obviously had a call and stuff before this podcast, and like even the setup we've been chatting, like you seem like someone who like you put, whoever you're working with very much first, where it's like you're looking at obviously all the new stuff that's coming out, and you're like even I picked up on something that you said at the door there, where you were like, I'm getting to know it because I want to know it before I implement it. And that to me sounds like you're not just someone who goes, oh, here's a trend that's flying around, let's jump on that and try and swindle more money off someone. Like you're actively going like, let's actually like research it, be an expert in it before we start pulling other people in, which kind of shows a bit of like a care, where if you are a client of yours, you're not going to turn around and lead them down this really like dark, strange alleyway where you don't even know what you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, I appreciate you saying that, because it is true. I guess you're talking about the AI there. Yeah. Everyone's jumping on this.
See, AI I didn't want to say AI because then I didn't want you to be like, don't talk about that. Our competitors will be listening.
Like AI is coming.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everyone better be ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm being ready for
it. Like rigging up their manager, like, here, flipping Paul's on here talking about AI. We need to get on this.
AI is happening. And I just want to be ready. So I've been playing with the tools.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about before this. Like, I'm not going to come out and start pitching AI yet.
Yeah.
Because I want to be really confident on what is the value out here.
Yeah.
I think it's early. Like, we're just getting a tease of it.
Yeah.
But it's the same, the other example is TikTok. Like, we've been on TikTok since 2018. We grew our TikTok to like 45K followers before we started shouting about it. And saying this is an actual viable option for your business, like as social media marketers.
Yeah, but it's a refreshing and a side off it to hear that like the likes of comments like that where you're like, I want to get to know it before I start implementing it, because there is so much noise. I feel anyway, like me and Tommy are both in marketing, and even like I know even yourself, like Shay and stuff. Like obviously you're not in marketing, but like doing this podcast, you're in tune with all like promotional and social media and stuff, and there's so much noise out there where people are like, hire me, I'm your social media consultant, I know it all, and you're like, you can't, like that's your first mistake, you can't know it all.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And there's so much leading, people being led astray, if you know what I mean, and it's just it's cool to hear. But
it's the hustlers, like, how many calls I get on, it's like, we've been burned by an agency before. That's their line, and I hear it all the time. People get burned by agencies because they think they're an agency because they set up Facebook ads, but they don't know marketing. And then similarly, you've got the old school marketers who know marketing, but they don't know Facebook ads, but they're trying to deliver Facebook ads. And that's like, those are our competitors. Like, we're dealing with people who are selling the service that we offer, but they're like, I don't want to say con artists, like, but they haven't figured it out for themselves yet.
Yeah, I think there's people that could like getting you in the door, but when it comes to the results, like I worked with like an agency. I was selling like running like an e-com store for gym stuff, and I got like ones in to do like the Google ads, because like I sort of knew Facebook ads but didn't know much Google. And like then I went and got an odd job at an agency, and like beforehand that agency wasn't like running Google Shopping or anything, and you sort of start learning all the things that like people, and they didn't have a clue, and you're spending all this money. Like, it's just, we were sort of chatting about it today. Like there's ones in marketing especially that it's so broad, marketing, like digital marketing is almost like a separate thing, like, and then you have your sort of general marketing, like events and all this here, like it's so broad. People are like, you're right, marketing is like this thing, and then inside of marketing you got digital, and then inside of digital you got social, and then inside of social you got TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest, all of it. But you're right, like we were spending money and we were in uncharted territory. Like we had one of the boxing events, I'll not say which promotion, but we did a few of them, and one of them we physically couldn't spend enough money
because we were getting profitable acquisition on the pay-per-view. A pay-per-view is 100% margin, right? $6.99, doesn't cost anything because it's already a fixed cost.
Yeah.
So if we had clearance from the guys, if we were able to land new buyers at £4 or less, continue to spend. And we got to the point where we had completely maxed out the business's credit card. We'd maxed out the director's credit cards, and then we maxed out my own personal credit card. Like I put it on TikTok. We're spending up to 20 grand a day just trying to get as much physical buys as possible. Yeah. And this is completely uncharted territory. Like we never spent that kind of money. And then now we can say we've done it and we've been there and we know what it looks like. But at the time we were so scared, like I was sticking my own personal Amex on there, being like, fingers crossed. But mate, fucking got shitloads of points off it. So flights still in it.
Who you've worked with a lot of big brands and like big names as well, like you'd sort of mentioned it there, like Floyd Mayweather, Tommy Fury, and I feel like I didn't want to start the podcast off by just like sort of dishing all that out because it kind of, you're getting into the juicy bit like 30 seconds in, so like we'll come to it now. I feel like people have waited long enough.
I hope no one's dropped off, like
yeah. But like I'm interested to know, before I ask the question, who was like the first brand or first point of contact that you were maybe sitting in this office or at home or whatever, you were like, holy moly, this is massive? Like, was there a brand that got in contact with you to do work where you're like, this is big?
Like, good question. So are you asking me like, there's a moment where I go, oh, we're actually doing real shit here?
Yeah, I would more say, I think some people ask the question on the podcast where it's like, oh, when's the moment where you knew you made it? I kind of like more if you're obviously doing what you're doing and then you got an email, like I know like there's been times where we've been doing the podcast or whatever and like an email's come through from like a brand and you're like, holy moly, like we want to work with you, and you're like, holy moly, that's decent. Like, was there any of that time for you? Like?
Yeah, I mean, me and my brother run the company, right?
Yeah.
So he's a good bit younger, 6 years younger than me, and our old office was out the back of my dad's house, and I remember we did. I can't say the brand name, right? But they're a really bigger than what we could handle at the time. Yeah. Skincare brand in London. Right. And for some reason we had a connection there, and they're like, it was actually the middle of the pandemic. We were posting about, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. And they're like, oh yeah, we've decided we're going to implement this. Can you, send us a proposal? I was like, oh Jack, we've So I sent a proposal, like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do it. And like, how much is it? And we didn't even know how to price ourselves to a brand like that. So we definitely underpriced ourselves. Yeah. But that's when we were like, okay, not only is this a really big brand, but they own like half of the London these physical stores. Yeah. They own all these other brands. Like, if we do a good job here, we could really land it. And we did a good enough job, but we didn't. If we were operating today, it would be a different story. Yeah. But I think then was when we probably decided that we need to really take this super serious because there's opportunity there. So
you'd sort of early a taster of what it was like to work with a big brand.
Yeah, and what it was like to have like a corporate structure that we had to deal with, and send briefs and everything get cleared by all these these levels of people, and we were just like, no, this is social media. This isn't a fucking billboard campaign. Like, let's just go wild with it. Let's just run it. Let's guerrilla it. And it wasn't happening. It was so the box was so strictly constructed that we couldn't move, and we didn't like it. But it was a good opportunity.
Was that sort of like an eye opener in terms of like the opportunities, like, because I think like one thing we sort of wanted to touch on was like, I think over here in Northern Ireland, like people maybe might be a bit more small minded, and like looking at the likes of you working with these big brands, and I suppose we'll get into it a bit more now, but like working with the likes of like shooting like Harry Kane and Phil Foden, like, is it not moments like that you're like, holy fuck, like,
Definitely. Working with Harry Kane was one of the biggest moments in my career, because I remember whenever we were standing there waiting on him for hours to come out, and then whenever he came out, his like energy was insane, I'm like, you're like the pinnacle of British sport, and you're right here, and you're a tall specimen of an athlete, and you could just feel that, and he was so pleasant. I was like, whoa. And then that moment to shoot him, we only had like, it's time to the minute, we had like 9 minutes in this one area, and then we had 7 minutes on the next area. It was built, and then we had like 20 minutes to do a Q&A with him, because it was like that. It was so strict, but it was incredible. And then once we were able to, you know, get that job done, and it was really successful, the next ones became even more enjoyable. So then we got to do Phil Foden, and we were much more relaxed then, because we already did Harry Kane, and Phil Foden is just a boy. Like, whenever we actually ended up waiting for him for hours as well, and then whenever he arrived, he bought a Nando's, so we had to sit there and wait for him to eat his Nando's, and then eventually he came out in his jacket and he had a mug of tea, and in between every shot he was just going to his little like assistant, he'd give him a tea and he would drink his tea, and then he would do the shot, and then he'd put his jacket back on and drink more of his tea. And then like one of the photos over there is me and him playing ball, so we were just doing keepy uppies together and just having a crack. Like, he's a 22-year-old, like, he's a little smick, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
he's a legend. He's got a kid and all, a couple probably. And it was just that. Those are the moments I was like, this is what we do now for work, and it was really special. Yeah. So yeah, there's been moments. Those are the moments. This is probably a better answer to your question before. Like, that last answer was the first time we got a big opportunity, but this is like, these are the best opportunities. And then of course we can dive into the boxing if you want, but that was different altogether.
And like, what is it like? Like, you sort of mentioned it there, like your strict timeline, and like one of the best footballers in the world. Like, is it not like, is it hard to sort of be like, right, fuck, we're working here, we need to turn it on? Like, do you know what I mean?
It was very scary. I went like bright red and like almost froze, because I had to do a face to camera with him where I was asking him questions and then he was answering them, but I had to bring energy so that he would reply with energy, because he only had one shot. And to be fair, he was good. But it was that we'd rehearsed it and all, like we'd practice it with dummies, and you know, to make sure we knew what we were doing. And it went wrong at the start, because I think I can say all this now because it's all out. At the start, he was negotiating his Nike contract, and it was just before the World Cup. And for some reason, they hadn't closed the deal on his Nike contract, and he was wearing a Nike top. So in the shot, he had to take the Stat Sports bib off. And as he took it off, remember how much time we only have? His manager goes, no, we can't show the Nike badge. And I just froze, and I looked, and I knew the time's going down. I'm like looking at the guy, like, what do we do? And it's like, just keep going. And I was like, right, okay. Kept going. He had to put the vest back on, and you know, we're doing like those TikTok transitions, where it goes from like vest to no vest to all, you know, the clothing getting built on in transitions. So it actually ended up messing half the transitions because of this vest, because this whole Nike contract was in the air. Yeah. But at the time, we're like, oh, it's fine. Like, obviously, Nike isn't going to let their biggest star go before the World Cup. That's what we were thinking. But the assistant was like, no, we can't do it. Like, this isn't going to air until, you know, months down the line. We can edit it out, but no, we can't do it. Yeah. So, and they just threw that in live in the middle of our 8-minute slot.
That'll be a night. I'd freak out. Yeah, that would be my.
I did freak out.
That's mental. I think
I'd pass away.
It threw me off completely for the whole thing. But you know,
I'd try and make up some BS like, oh, it's grand. Like, we'll put a Lonsdale logo over the top of it. Like, it'll be grand. Like, we'll fix it in post. It's fine. Yeah, it's madness.
Go on.
I want to dive into the boxing.
Yeah,
because that's a massive one. Like, that's crazy. So you basically...
Can we talk about the whole, like, because you were sort of saying us, you flew over a week in Dubai, like it's that sort of start there. Like, what was it like when you first flew over?
That's the end. Because, like, I'll speed through really quickly, because, again, these aren't the kind of jobs you get from just, like, running a Facebook ad. Like, we only got that because of what we'd done up to that point. So we did the first one, which was Showstar, which was, like, Soul Pappy and all those boys.
Was that the one where Simple Simon, all the TikTok ones, like Simple Simon?
That was the next one.
Right, okay.
So that was Kingpin. So because we did a pretty good job on Showstar, then we got Kingpin. Kingpin, we did a really good job on. And then we got Wicked and Bad, which was the Iranian Hulk. And it flopped, like, it was shite, to be fair. The Kingpin one was great. That was all Ed Matthews, all those TikTok stars, Elle Brooke.
What was that like? Because I think from the outside looking in, it's sort of like, this is a bit of a fucking circus here. Like, you know, like, what was it like working on it? You know,
it was a circus, and I was like, I don't love those guys. Like, I don't follow those guys myself. So I was kind of learning, like, the beef and everything. And, you know, Simple Simon and his daughter and all that there. It was all a bit wild, but it's all young audience, like 14-year-old, 16-year-old boys, like, going mad for it. And then Ed and fucking, what can I even tell the story here? Like, at the end of the fight, Ed bounced out of the ring, and him and HS Tiki Talkie, they were just going mad with the crowd, like getting them to slobber at like Simple Simon. All the crowd were like, they had them in the palm of their hand, and they were just going so crazy that they went out to do their interviews, and Ed still had his boxing gloves on, no top, covered in sweat, and his shorts and his boxing boots. And they did the interviews, and HS had like lined up this after party. They ended up walking out the door, out of the stadium. He's still in his boxing gloves, still fully sweating. Right. Then next minute, we're like, right, he's gone. He's actually left the building. We look on his Instagram story, and he's in a limo with all these girls grinding on him. Next minute, his next Instagram story, he's in the club, still in his shorts, still in his boxing. His hands are wrapped, like. Yeah. And he's doing bottles, God. And he's off his, like, right, edit whatever you want here, like, he's off his nut.
Yeah.
And those boys are just going on a rampage. And I don't know when they even wrapped that up, but that's what that event was like.
That's mental, man. Okay. Them in the gloves in the club.
He was still, they were in like sports gear, like.
That's mad.
That's crazy.
So getting back on track, the Kingpin went well, Wicked and Bad didn't really. And then Global Titans happened, so we got the word from one of the guys that we were working with before that was going to be happening, and to potentially throw our name in the hat. So we did a proposal. We said we were going to do a full marketing plan, and we pitched it. And we knew there was going to be Floyd, and like to get Floyd, we knew it was going to be more than 10 million to get him to fight. Yeah. We knew Deji was going to be big, so we knew there was a lot of money involved. We didn't know who was backing it, and eventually I needed to make a price, so I went really high, like super highballed it. And then the person who was also pitching for it went, let's say, regular or low. And I think they basically came back and were like, yeah, these must be the guys, because they've priced it like a big professional agency, where these other guys have just priced it at like a couple grand.
Yeah.
So they picked us, but then what they did was they beat us down on price.
Yeah.
So they kept beating us down, and then
this is Floyd Mayweather stuff, like
Floyd Money Mayweather.
Yeah, you would expect him to walk in and go, no bat.
They have all the money, but they're just stingy. Like.
But it's even the fact that you like getting that job, like it's mad. Because I remember when I first met you, like we were chatting about it, and I was like you'd almost think there's like some big agency in LA or something doing it, and I was like, this is fucking mental.
Yeah. I would love to know, like. We knew some of the guys because we did the other fights before, and because they were successful, they were like, well, they knew what to do, so they must have thought we were a big agency, and because we priced it at what would probably be a big agency rate, then that probably cemented it, anchored them. And then what we did was, because we were getting beat down in price, we're like, right, that's fine, but fly us out, me, Jack, our media buyer Adam, fly us out, put us up, and we'll like also shoot content. And we ended up getting out for the whole week. We worked every day, but it was great work. Like at first I was going to be filming Floyd as his like personal videographer, but
that's crazy.
Floyd honestly is like he's really standoffish. Like he would sit in the car until the last minute, and then he'd be very late, and he's not approachable. You can't get on with him. And it just wasn't very good vibes. But then there was also Tommy Fury. So whenever we got some shots of him, I sent it to his manager and made a quick reel. They weren't even on TikTok. So we made a quick TikTok for them. I sent it back to Matt here, and Matt put the TikTok reel together, and I sent it to his manager, and I said, put that on TikTok. And he got 40,000 followers in the first minute. Like not minute, like the first video, his first brand new TikTok. So then that, you only have a few minutes at a time with these guys. So every minute that I was there, I was trying to like not be like a douche or be like in their face, but just trying to subtly fly on the wall, add a little bit of value. And then I got tight with the manager, and then I got to, have a good few conversations with Tommy. Then they invited me to their midnight workout, because he was trying to acclimatize to when the fight was going to be. So I got to go to the house, had the tunes on, film the fight. Like before that even, like I got to pick them up from the airport. So I got these little moments to build a relationship, build some rapport, that they trusted me enough to bring him to his villa.
Yeah.
And then meet John Fury, who's hilarious. So again, each of these little interactions, it was just like money in the bank, I was like to getting more in. And then we got to do the radio show with them, and then just earn their trust. And then after, I got to get into the change room post-fight and meet Molly May and just have like be one of their little crew that week. Mm-hmm. So I was able to identify that it's a better relationship to build with him versus Floyd, because Floyd is not I'm never going to work with Floyd again.
Yeah.
But now that we have those connections with the Furies, and they're only in Manchester,
Yeah.
and we are still talking to the manager right now, there's more opportunity to work with those guys.
Yeah.
Well, because even now you hear at this present moment in time, there's rumors that for the third time, him and Jake Paul's going to fight.
I have the exclusive.
Do you?
Yeah, actually.
I actually do. I have 2 exclusives.
Nice.
Can you get it?
Can I do them?
This mightn't be
Do you know-
going out for a couple of weeks. Like. I guess could be going out mid-Feb, end of Feb, maybe. Like.
Let me.
Can cut out whatever. Like.
Yeah, let
Just
me
fucking
do.
say it.
We need to know. You
Let
said
me.
it now. You started
Let me
it.
do. I will give you it.
Let me look at the
As soon as
contract.
I know I'm allowed to do it, because again, like I just explained, this is a relationship building game,
Yeah.
and it takes a long, long time to build it.
We dropped
just
this
gonna
podcast
destroy
on
it.
Tuesday. Pause on the phone, guys. What the fuck?
It takes a long, long time to build a reputation and a relationship.
We wake up on we wake up on Friday morning and John Fury's followed us. We're like, oh, no. Dossa.
I'm a bare knuckle man.
That would be mad. But what, like, that was pretty smart though. Like, you kind of did, like, because most people I feel like would arrive there, see like Floyd Mayweather and immediately be like, that's where the money's at.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny because now you hear like so him fighting Logan Paul and stuff, and like Logan Paul's obviously saying he didn't get paid, and like he's kind of being like caught out, like where a lot of people would go out and be like, that's where the money's at. It's Floyd money Mayweather, like where obviously
He spends a lot of money, but he on himself, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what was it like sort of meeting the likes of his name's completely like,
Andrew Tate.
oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Let's get this podcast cancelled. Like,
Were you chatting to him for long, like, or was it just sort of like, oh well, lad type of thing?
it was a little bit because he was
well,
he was ringside, right?
Yeah.
So, and it was my side that I was covering. So in between every fight, you've got the round.
Yeah.
We're able to just like, let's say, this sounds stalkerish, but I was able to like observe him.
Yeah.
And like I was saying to you a minute ago, every minute is like money in the bank to actually get a chance to break the barrier and the trust. So it was kind of not being a fucking weirdo and coming straight up and getting the selfie. And then eventually I was able to meet Tristan, the brother, and shake his hand, just be like, here, great to see you here, how's it going, that sort of stuff. And then Andrew was actually using his phone the whole time and not looking around him, not looking at anyone. Turns out he was actually playing chess, and I didn't know if he was doing that for part of his like personal brand, you know, he's like a chess master,
Yeah.
or was he doing it because he just didn't want to have interaction. But again, because I was able to speak to Tristan and was kind of hanging around a wee bit, then I was able to get his attention, shake his hand, say a couple things that, you know, I don't know what your viewers' opinion is on Andrew. Like, I'm not going to make too many like comments about it, but you know, I was able to chat to him very briefly.
Yeah.
And then, but still be around, and then still like in between, you know, in between each round, like be able to engage with those guys with the same intention of let's engage a little bit here and there, not be annoying. That we could potentially build some kind of relationship. Like all the while I'm getting loads of content.
Yeah.
I'm getting shots of him, getting shots of Tristan, thinking that I was going to put together a reel, and then, you know, hey, just before he's leaving, I got some good content there, you know, do me a flick over a reel, give me your number, whatever. And I didn't do that because he ended up getting absolutely hounded by a lot of people, and he left.
Yeah.
He left before the Floyd fight. But
Did he?
yeah, he did.
Wow.
What do you mean, like, hounded? Was it just the crowd, or just
Even celebrities were coming up to him, and like everyone was just taking turns, like almost like a cue to just shake his hand.
that's mental?
And I was watching it because it was on my side of the ring, and I was like, that's annoying for anyone.
Yeah.
Even if you're like a major celebrity, like that's annoying. So he ended up just being like, I can't fucking take this, and he asked for another seat and he left.
It's interesting as well with like the whole Tommy Fury thing. The way you're saying you're like sort of trying to add a bit of value, like you're sort of switched on. Like it's how do you know when to like, you know, get your foot in the door and not, because like you're saying there, like they probably have people coming up looking stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's sort of like easing your way in there to sort of show, no, I'm not just like locking something off you. Like.
That's it. It is just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Don't be annoying, show value. We show value. Like, why would they need me around them? They literally wouldn't. They got every resource in the world, but because I was sending them literal content and they're in the content game, they thought we were valuable, and they're sending some signed boxing gloves over, and we're going to get them put up around here with the jerseys.
Yeah. Would you have any tips for like approaching someone if you want to like present yourself in a positive way to someone who wants to try?
Roundabout way, Shay's saying, "Can you contact Tommy Fury and see if he wants to come on the podcast?"
Just don't be a douchebag. Like,
don't be a douchebag.
Just do little bits at a time, as if you've been in that position before.
Yeah.
You know, don't look like a fanboy. Don't ask for a selfie. Don't be like that.
Yeah.
Hang around like a fly in the wall. Then see an opportunity.
Yeah.
To again, always thinking about what you can offer for them, because there's no way. Like, yeah, if you want to get your photo, just get your photo and get out. But that's not going to be a relationship.
Yeah. It's just, I think that's so interesting the way you're looking at it there. Like, because you so easily could have been like, oh, Tommy Fury, John Fury, let's get a photo, and that's it. Like, but then it's like being so like, there's an opportunity here for me, you know. Yeah,
and we do that in the business. You know, like some of our favorite clients, the coffee that we've been drinking today, London Nootropics, that mushroom coffee, those guys from Dragon's Den, they were really successful, but they were doing like pretty basic to, I would say, poor advertising.
Yeah.
And I just hit up your man and I was like, hit him a couple of DMs, like, let's just send me some of your product and I'll show you what is working right now. Because we've spent this money and we know what's working. And he's like, yeah, great. Got on a call, ended up buying a content pack off us, and then more. And now we're working in a working relationship. Got a call again with him next week to see what else we can do together. It's just doing those little bits of value at a time.
Yeah. I think one thing we always find it's hard is like when you're, obviously for us, it's trying to get people on the podcast and talk. Like actually it's getting your foot in through the door to actually be like, do you want to come on and have a chat? And like we always find like we obviously send DMs and then you've email and all that there, but it just feels like you know, I think you can just know when you send a DM to someone in particular that you're going to go, yeah, we're not hearing back from these people. Like I think it's so hard to try and get people's attention because obviously they're flooded with like all these requests like, do you want to come on our podcast? Or
it has to be genuine, has to be authentic, it has to be like, what is their last post? And then, oh, here, saw you did that, that's epic, you know. And you're not trying, it's like dating, like you're not trying to fuck on the first date or whatever, like, or you're not trying to get married in the first date is what they say. Like, have a chat, you know, go on a couple of dates, blah, blah, blah. Build up that relationship and then do your ask.
Yeah.
So it was like Gary Vee says like jab, jab, right hook or whatever. It's same and like if you're trying to get an ask, a couple of bits of conversation, something really personal, something that's actually happening, being authentic, and then boom, ask.
Strike.
When is like sort of the opportunity there, like with the likes of Tommy Fury, when you're sort of like, right, well, like there's only so much you can give them for free before it's like, right, well, you know, I need something in return here. Yeah, pretty much.
Or share my content. Well, it's funny because the guy asked me even yesterday, and we were following up today because we put the vlog live, which if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Can I plug that? You know?
Yeah.
Plug the vlog. Whenever we put it out, he messaged me and he said, this clip between like 6 minute this, 6 minute that, can I have it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like if Tommy shares our vlog. And he goes, oh, you're really busy with Jake and with the baby. I was like, no. He's not too busy to share our vlog.
Yeah.
Because you're his manager, like you're doing business.
There's someone who probably works for him that could do it, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But he actually does manage his own socials, which I think isn't a good idea. So I was like, you could definitely, he's like, I can't make any promises. He's like, but if you give me that clip, he might use it and then he'll mention you. And I was like, right, we'll do that. But we are talking about going over and doing like Day in the Lives.
Yeah.
With him training and everything. So there's a few things coming up.
I love them. They're sick.
Yeah, we started doing them. You should do them. You guys should actually do them. Like this is what I was thinking when we were here. Like there's so much. My whole day today was great, and I got some content because we were interviewing for a new role, and it's just exciting to do that. So I was documenting that. We had some meetings, and then we have this. We also had one of the guys come in and do a testimonial for us. So these are all little things that are behind the scenes that you should be documenting, stick it into a wee reel and put it out there. And since we did it with a few of our staff, we're getting good reception. Like people are commenting, being like, "Oh, your brother does no work," and it's like, yeah, but that, you know, that's just
building a relationship, I suppose, with people as well. Like letting them see inside.
Yeah, it is like that.
That's sick. So I suppose we've obviously delved a bit into the beginning and the middle and now, but like, what's next?
AI.
Chat GPT.
Where do you see it going, like in terms of even like marketing or content type of, like in the industry, like what do you sort of see happening with it? Like,
I mean, I feel like most people thought that the safest jobs were going to be the creatives, and like the jobs that were going to go first would be like, you know, the lawyers and all, like you could just write contracts. But I feel like the creatives are at risk because, you can write copy, and you can come up with they can write full books, they can write movies. But I think, for me, my long-term goal, I won't give too much away because this is a genuinely long-term goal, creative AI, built into these ad platforms. That's something that I'm looking at in the future. Because if you try and get in right now for a quick buck, like what you were saying, Ross, that's not going to be a long-term play for you, because it's just going to be people are just going to sling, copy services that they use to write, use ChatGPT to write it. But I'm thinking what platforms are going to be existing in 5 years' time that we could potentially play on.
The photo thing was interesting. What happened a month ago, where everyone was doing the AI photos. I suppose it was a bit of a fad. It's sort of
it was basically people had rights to your image, the image you put in, the platform had the rights to your photos. They basically had your identity,
Yeah.
In the fucking terms and conditions you signed up to and all. It was mental.
Did you do it?
I didn't do it.
No, I didn't. Did you?
You're fucked.
I seen a TikTok on it, and I was like, fuck. It's when you actually look into it, it's fuck. You're just sort of clicking buttons and thinking, no, what?
Can machines are coming for you.
There's going to be clones of me made now.
Well, I mean, this is the other thing. My sister's I'm not getting TikTok because China's stealing your data. I'm like, fuck, your data's everywhere. Your phone is in your pocket.
This pisses me off. See, whenever people go down this and start saying oh, they're stealing my data, China's listening to me and all. I worked in a flim phone shop for four
gorgeous, aren't they?
Gorgeous.
Oh my days. I worked in a phone shop for 4 years, and at the time we were selling Huawei. Huawei were massive. Everybody was going to Huawei, and every single person were coming in 1 week. They were like, lad, I don't even know why you're on iPhone anymore, because Huawei is just so much better. And then the whole thing happened where Trump came out and was like, it's China's listening to you and all this. It's China. And then the next minute, these people were coming in I'm returning this. And you're you can imagine Ballymena, I'm returning this. I don't want the Chinese listening to me. And I'm love, do you think the Chinese people are sitting going, oh, here's Barbara out hanging up her washing in the flipping Portland Own, and I'm really interested in what she's talking about.
The opted out of the ad tracking really annoy me. Obviously,
especially in advertising as well.
Yeah, it annoys me in advertising, but it's your feed is curated for you, and that's why your experience in social is so good. If you don't want that, you're let's say guys like us, we don't want to see Barbie doll houses that are targeted to women who have kids. We don't want to see that shit. We want to see the things that we like and the sports that we're into and all that. And then people that opt out, they're just going to get it might not be too bad, but I want to be advertised to, because we're going to be advertised to no matter what, with things that I'm genuinely interested in, because I buy stuff online, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what annoying, especially from an advertising perspective, people don't realise they don't really know what it is. It was beneficial to them because they're getting targeted with ads that suit their needs and their interests. But then taking that away.
Amazing.
But so in terms of what's next for you is the whole AI stuff
okay, that was me just going really far in the future. But what's next for Life? Definitely more creative work with e-commerce brands. The ones that we consume, CPG brands, sports, health and wellness. We love that stuff that we're interested in and we use ourselves. I know it's talked about the coffee, but some of the things that are on these shelves, we use that and we love that. So we want to be working with more like that. And then potentially scale those brands up, take a little bit of equity in them as well, because we're giving that value across ads, email, content. And then, let's see what happens. I've got a 3-year timeline, and then I'm probably going to be looking at an exit. Because I know I don't want to do agency my whole entire life, but probably do an exit. And then depending on the state of the world, it's going a bit mad. Either fuck off to Maldives and live there, off grid, or
so dodgy that
or do AI. So we'll just see what happens.
Just sitting in Maldives with dial up internet and all.
We gotta be that's why I need to go traveling, because we got brilliant connection out there. Great guy, and if anyone wants to go to Maldives, hit me up. I'll sort you out with a brilliant trip. We just did it there, and that's what I wanted to do. Maybe give some attention to the ocean. Save some sharks, be a nature boy.
I think it's sick as well. Obviously you've worked with people who we're obviously sitting here going, flip, that's mad. Is there anybody who you would like to work with? Is there anybody who you'd be gunning for, that if you had the opportunity you would?
I have 2 brands that are in my dream brand list.
Okay, who are
So
they?
one is Rolex. I'd love to work with Rolex directly.
Right,
And then the other is Lego.
Lego.
Yeah, because in my mind, I've got some really good marketing campaigns for Lego for adults, right?
Yeah.
Because Lego for adults is bigger than Lego for kids.
Yeah.
And
Didn't even know that.
That Lego for
That's
adults.
all like Star Wars stuff. Like
all the
that's
Star
like
Wars
what
shit,
the
like
bot-
globes, like
yeah.
everything.
Can
Send the
Nico
bot
not
me.
get you in there Rolex? Like what's going on?
Rolex hate Lego now, probably. Cause
Blue.
He's been
I
slapping
suppose,
at, which I don't want. Like big up Rolex because I like got some investments in
I see
Rolex.
you're wearing a Rolex. There.
I'm wearing. This is my. I got this on the anniversary of my business. For me, I'll never sell this one.
Yeah,
But I got some other nice pieces that I bought as investments.
yeah.
Storage of wealth to
Yeah.
potentially grow. And then the watch market crashed. But also Nico's out there ripping out Rolex. I'm like, bro, stop saying
chill.
that. Tell everyone how great they are.
Yeah.
Stop.
I didn't realize like you sort of started chatting to me about watches, but like
Yeah.
if you buy a Rolex, like is it a second hand or something? You can't buy it. It takes you off
it's
the list or something.
Yeah, like my dad retired there recently, and he wanted to buy a watch as like his retirement, and like we went into a watch shop in Belfast, not Nico's one. It was a watch shop in Belfast, and basically just to plug this here, but yeah, they were like, it's like a 2-3 year waiting list for the one he wanted, and then your mom was actually saying like, oh, there's a lot of people buy, and then they like immediately go down the road and sell it to the likes of
Yep.
Nico or whatever for
Me.
for like profit, but
Yeah.
then there's something where you can't, then Rolex take you off some list where you can't actually buy it again because I don't know.
You can't buy it like, directly off.
because it's
them.
all every watch has a serial number. So if you're on a list, which is correct, you will take you a long time to get
Yeah.
a Rolex watch. And then if the AD, the authorized dealer, sees that you're just flipping watches,
Yeah.
they don't want to flip. They want to sell to particular people. People who
Yeah.
spent money in their shop. People
People who
real
love
customers.
watches.
Yeah, and then it has its pros and its cons. It's like you need to
Yeah.
spend this much money before we get you something good. So I know.
Yeah.
It is a
So-
who you know as well kind of marketplace.
So Rolex and Lego. Lego's a good one. Like Lego's
It would
a
be
good
so.
one.
Imagine we could do.
I got Lego for Christmas and I didn't know what I was getting it. I was like, lad, that's sick. That is
See,
sick.
for like mindful, like
Yeah.
that's another big thing that I think is important. Like because we're
Yeah.
always connected. Like I'm always on the ball. Like business, whatever.
Yeah.
See, just putting the phone away and building a wee bit of Lego. Like
Yeah. I walked into Tesco the other day, completely ad hoc conversation. Walked into Tesco the other day and seen 007 Aston Martin DB5
Seen that,
Lego
yeah.
set.
yeah, that's it. Like,
129 RRP down to 65. I was like, could be tempted.
Tempting.
Yeah.
grab it.
Yeah. I was
what,
gonna call.
what about you lads? Like, I know this is your podcast, you're interviewing me, but what about you? Like, where do you see this podcast going? 'Cause that's,
Fuck, if
you've
you'd
built
asked
something great so
if you'd
far. Like,
asked us this question a couple of weeks ago, I think I know what the answer would have been.
It's hard to know.
It's so hard, like,
Yeah.
because I think like it's sort of towards the end of last year. Just to be honest, like we were just like where is this going? We were trying to do 2 episodes a week, like,
yeah,
Doing
And
stuff
I
for
got
the sake of
this,
doing
yeah.
it. Like it was.
and we didn't think the stuff was good. Like I remember
Yeah.
we had a chat, and I was just like that podcast shit. Like we just felt like we were putting out stuff for the sake of it.
There
And
was a
then,
repetition of negativity, and then
Yeah.
eventually I think it took me to break and say to you, I remember calling Tommy one night and was just like, lad, I don't want to do this anymore. And he was just like, same. And then we all were just like, listen, let's just take a break at this and see, because this podcast started off as like with the best intention of like, we never wanted to, and I think we've realized this recently, and it's kind of counterintuitive as to what we're doing. We never wanted to promote ourselves, like us three. We wanted to, like, we were using the platform to promote other people. And then it got to the stage where we stripped back having guests on, started doing more solo episodes because they were easy to do and you could pump out content all the time. But then it got to the stage where it was like the limelight was solely on, I know this sounds really counterintuitive, but like us three. And it was like, there's a lot of pressure with that. And I think you see it a lot in Northern Ireland at the minute, like people, like certain people and all, they're big on social media. Well, they're big-ish on social media, and it's just like you can kind of find that they kind of lose their way a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know where this is going, to be honest.
I think we've just took a bit of time just to start to look at what we want to do, and I think like we've sort of mentioned it back at before we started recording, is like because when we started out, nobody really knew us. We sort of had to be a bit more creative with our guests. So like we were sort of like, oh, who has a good story? But like we were doing these episodes and like enjoying them so much more because it was like an interest, even like the likes of today, like chatting to you, but like getting people like Jawbox, your boy Jerry owns Jawbox Gin, and like things like that, like talking to people that maybe don't have a big following on social media, but like are doing things.
Yeah,
there's so much good stuff going on here. Like
you know
you should
what I
just
mean?
go after all these, like some of the businesses and the people in Northern Ireland, because Northern Ireland's punching above its weight.
But even like Stat Sports, like I don't think people realise like us a Northern Ireland company, and like you see it all over the Premier League, all over the world. Like people wearing them bibs, like. And
I loved Stat Sports for so long,
mental, like.
And then I met Ryan. Shout out Ryan.
Yeah.
So how I got into them, and how I pitched them. And it's just like that company is actually great. And it's going places. And there's a few of those in Northern Ireland, like, do you know what I mean?
I think the plan moving forward is to just strip it back. We want to get more people on who we actually want to talk to. We're still going to sprinkle a few solo episodes in there and have a bit of crack, like, and just see where it goes.
Who does your little jingle?
It was 2 Degrees, Matty from 2 Degrees, the band. That was one of the first guests we had on 2 Degrees, and we kept getting them back on again.
But even that, like they were such good crack, and like we recorded that episode and we were having a few drinks, and it was such a laugh, and they had sick stories like from like gigging in New York and stuff, and like it's like people.
I think
like,
we really enjoyed it. Like,
like
that's just what we lost through the year. Like,
that's what
through the years, like it's just became like, I wonder what the guests want now. Like, it wasn't like what we want.
Or like the listeners, like.
So you want to go back to finding the enjoyment of podcasting?
Exactly.
If we love it, it'll grow with us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's what we find.
I think it just got too much pressure, and I was like, you're looking at like, we need to get the next big guest on, bigger guest, bigger following, and like you're sort of trying to grow it. Whereas like now we're like, if the content's good, because like the clips, like we grew on TikTok because the content was good, and we weren't necessarily getting these huge guests on. It was just good clips. Like one of our biggest clips was just some random comedian who asked to come on the podcast. Like, you know, it's like, it's more, we want to focus more on the content, stuff that we think's actually good, instead of just like focusing on, I think we're just like Gary V, like content, like 12 clips a day type of thing.
Content is king, but it has to be good quality. Like. So I mean, there's definitely been some good clip moments here, I'd say, but I think we do. I think we wrap it in a second, but because I want you to get competitive in our little office games. I was telling you before, there's some high pressure golf game in the Lifelike office, and I want you to
the loser has to go to the toilet.
No worries.
Nobody even gets that.
Just us.
But like before we end, I suppose, like what advice would you give us? Like you're in the content game, like what would you help us? I don't know.
This is what I would, if this was my podcast.
It was flawless. I give it to you. It was flawless.
Have you been queuing that one up?
What?
This is what I would do if this was my podcast. What you said is like, enjoy it. Find guests that you want to speak to and have the crack with, because then authentically the episode's going to be better, the quality's going to be better, and have your boys cut it up and put out more versions, but then also show you guys, you know, outside of the podcast, not like just going to work, but like coming to the podcast. Like we had loads of crack before we even turned this on. I'd be documenting that. I'd have Aaron rolling that camera the whole time. I'd be bringing Aaron into it, like, do you know what I mean? From time to time, just spinning that camera around. I'd be doing that, and then after we're about to go and play this game, I'll be getting that on. That's what I do. And then
Aaron, you went very red.
That's my advice. Content, bring your personalities into it, bring non-podcast stuff, just dribble it in, and then just come up with like clever ideas. I have some, might share them, might not, might do my own podcast. Go head to head with you.
Dang on the card.
Go on ahead. We need a bit of competition.
What about Jake Paul then and Tommy Fair? What's the crack?
Well, here's the crack, right?
He puts his hand over the microphone and starts muffling. I'm intrigued.
Maybe I'll send it to you and you can, I don't know, need to get clearance.
Yeah, no, that's grand. That's grand.
Well,
we're not here to end anybody's career.
Yes, Robert.
Thanks for coming on. Hey, like I was, I think first podcast with a guest to start off the year. So
yeah. And if people wanna find you, if you're a business and you're looking.
Lifelike Media on Instagram is where we're trying to put most of our stuff, but definitely go follow our YouTube because we're trying to build it. It's taking a time. It's really hard. So
nice.
YouTube.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Right. Explain this photo.
Yeah. That is the PG version of that photo is myself on the right Roberto Escobar, who's Pablo Escobar's brother, in the middle, and then my brother on the left. So we were in Colombia, Medellin. Actually, Medellin, they call it. Fucking. What happened was we were over there for a business event, and we got chatting to the receptionist of our hotel quite a lot, every day, every afternoon. She was really lovely. Like, the people out there are really lovely. She wanted to know more about what we were doing. I was like, yeah, we're media. We do this and that, So she says, what would be great for you? You should go and do the Escobar museum tour. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're in Medellin. We're going to do that. And she goes, no. You can actually go to Roberto Escobar's house, and you actually get to meet Roberto Escobar, who's just got out of prison because all the narcos have been released now, right?
Oh my
I was
God.
a bit mad. I was like, how do you do that? I haven't seen that on TripAdvisor. I said, oh yeah, no. We know what's going on. We'll help you. Take this number. Guy will come pick you up and take you. So, right. Fucking
That sounds so sus.
Yeah.
we got the cameras ready.
Yeah.
We got into this car. It was a little bit sus.
Yeah.
Drove to this compound, all CCTV cameras, gates, barbed wire, and then went into the house. So, like, into this compound, you had to do a wee ID check.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in. The guy stays in the car. He's like, you go in. I stay in the car. Right, no worries. There's a couple other people there as well. Probably got roped in the same way we did.
Yeah.
And what actually happens is you do a quick tour. So what we learned was these guys who've just got out of jail are now poor, whereas they used to have millions and millions. So what they're doing is they're basically whoring out their house as a museum.
Nice.
So you go in, and there's this Russian guy who used to smuggle cocaine from Medellin to Moscow, and then he got caught. And he's telling all these stories about how he used to do this and that and go to prison, and it was great. Showing us the house, he goes, oh, this was Pablo Escobar's plant. He loved this plant. Like, this was Pablo Escobar's chair. He used to sit in this chair, when he was making his plans.
50 quid and you can sit in the chair too.
Exactly. Very quickly we realized, I was like, all right, none of this is actually Pablo's stuff at all. This is you just completely stroking us for cash in someone's house.
Yeah.
And it all started to make sense. So you just got out of jail. Where are you getting all Pablo stuff? Like, it all got raided.
Yeah.
People actually raided their house, dug up the walls to try and find their treasure. So towards the end of the tour, I was like, we were told we actually get to meet Roberto Escobar. Yeah, you get to meet him. All you have to do is buy something from the gift shop, and you will actually get the opportunity to meet him, and he'll sign it for you. So we're like, right, okay. Walked into the gift shop. Everything is $50, $60, $70 for fucking bullshit merch with Pablo Escobar's face on it.
Oh my God.
So we look for the cheapest thing. Is a $25 cocaine spoon, which you can see up there on the photo. So we're like, that's the cheapest thing, right? Let's just grab that. Brought it over, and we got to go into that little room and meet Roberto. So,
He looks so unamused.
bro, he's blind.
Right.
He opened the letter bomb in jail
wise.
and blew up his face.
No way.
Swear down. Because he went like that, he's like 85% blind. So we sat down. I said,
That's blind, like 85%. Like, you know what I mean?
I gave the camera to Jack. I was like, I turned it on. I was like, just roll, because I'm going to ask him some questions. So I said to this Russian guy who loves himself, he's like, yeah, I'm the best, like, narco ever.
Yeah.
I was like, if I ask him some questions, will you translate? Yeah, no problem. So he puts the little cocaine spoon down. He puts Roberto's hand on it with a Sharpie, and he just does his little squiggle while Jack's recording.
Yeah.
And then I was like, there's a YouTube video on this, like, Roberto, what was Pablo like? These are brothers and businessmen. Like, what was he like? I was like, speaking in Spanish, we were getting the translation. Pablo was amazing. Pablo saved everyone's life. Pablo was the Lord, the King, like, bigging him up so much. And yeah, okay, great. So how much wealth did he amass? Like, what was really going on in the narcos? And ask these questions. After the third question, the sons of him came over. I was like, no interview. No interview. I was like, no, it's okay. The Russian mafia, the Russian narco guy goes, oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm listening, I'm translating, I'm not going to do anything bad. No interviews. So they actually cut the interview there and made us turn off our camera. So he shook his hand, thank you very much. And then actually just left Roberto. And I was finding this Russian guy so interesting because he was giving away so much, because it was like his ego.
Yeah.
He was really enjoying telling us.
Yeah.
So I went over to the garage. I started to do another interview with him. He was telling me all about how he smuggled all this, and he got to go into prison, and in the prison he was actually getting prostitutes and their mobile phone and all this. And then again, the brothers come over and they're like, no, we told you already.
You talk too much. Mate.
No interview.
The next day,
And they
guy was
actually,
dead.
well, that's it. They asked us to leave, so we got back in the car and drove away and just looked at each other and went, me and my brother, like, it's fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
So that's the photo from the
madness.
interview, which is on YouTube.
That's mad. Because so many people tell us stories, and it's like, everyone's like, that's bullshit, but there's literally the fucking photo there.
There'll be people in the TikTok comments being like, this happened, and then there's the photo.
I love the wax figure in the corner as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the sort of shit they're flogging. Like, they're like, this is the life size. This is how tall Pablo was. Do you want to stand beside him and get a photo? $50.
Imagine walking out with that.
Imagine going back in the plane with that.
There is, in the non-PG version, the Russian man appears again, but
Yeah.
we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Pints.